We're going to make these screws, and we're also going to make these details over here. So we're going to go back to our Blender file. We're going to tab into edit mode, and we're going to alt right click on this edge loop here, Shift S and cursor to selected. So we're going to create a circle, so go to create and choose circle, change the vertex count to 6 and press enter, R, X, and then 90 and press enter, S to scale this down, and we're going to make it about that size. Then we're going to alt right click here, we're going to do Shift D to duplicate and right click to cancel, S to scale this down slightly. Then we're going to E to extrude, right click to cancel, and S to scale this down. We're going to alt and shift right click, and then we're going to bring these out a bit. And we're going to do alt F to make some triangles to fill this in. Then we're going to alt right click on the center one and bring it out a bit further still. And we may even want to do Control plus and bring this whole thing out a bit further than that. Then we're going to do Control L and Control N to recalculate the normals. It's not going to look that great with flat shading, so we're just going to go to Shading and UVs in edit mode. And under faces we're going to hit smooth, and then that'll make it look a bit nicer. If you want to, you can make your circle a bit smaller, so I'm going to alt right click, do Control plus, S, Shift and Y, and just scale this down a little bit so that the center piece is a bit smaller. And I may even want to do alt right click and scale this piece out a bit so there's less space between this and this outer part. So now we're going to do alt right click here, and we're going to do E to extrude, right click to cancel, S to scale it down slightly, then we'll do E to extrude, right click to cancel, and bring it back. Then we can just press F to make a face, and we can switch to vertex select, select the top vertex and the bottom vertex, and then J to join. So now we have two quads on the left and right, or just one quad on the left and right. So that's the basics of our little screw piece. Like, you can still pull it out further if you want. You can select these, do Control plus until you get the whole thing, and just bring it out a bit further if you want it to be out further than that. But that's pretty much all we need to do for this little screw part. You're not going to see the screw itself that goes through, so we're not going to bother making that. Once you're happy with it, you're just going to do Control L to select all this. Once you're happy with it, we're going to switch to vertex select. We're going to do alt right click, Shift S, cursor to selected. Select one of these vertices, Control L. We're going to do Control 1 to go to back view. And we're going to switch this to 3D cursor. We're going to do Shift D to duplicate, and then R and 90 and press enter. So Shift D, R, 90, press enter. Then you can do Shift R and Shift R to put all these in the appropriate spot. Now we're going to make the details on the side. So we're going to do Control R, and we're going to left click, and we want to slide this down a bit here. So I'm going to slide it down about 0.43, so I'm going to type in 0.43 and then press enter. Then we're going to do Control R, left click, and slide this up. This time we're going to do negative 0.43. Since these two faces are the same size exactly, by doing 0.43 on both of these, we guarantee that they both slid down the exact amount away from this vertex and this vertex, if you know what I'm saying. So they're exactly the same distance away from this center line here. Now we're going to do Control R, we're going to left click, and I'm just going to drag this back slightly. Then I'm going to do Control R again, we're going to left click, right click here. I'm going to switch to face select, and I'm going to select these faces like this, so just try to select the same ones I'm selecting. So we have these two that are sticking out, and then these here. So this one that goes all the way down, just a little bit beyond this. Those are the faces that you should have. Then we're going to do E to extrude and right click to cancel. And we're going to do Alt S. And we're just going to bring this out a bit. We want to try to match it up as best we can to these other vertices. So if we do Alt S and try to line it up with this as best we can, that's what we want right there. Then we're going to switch to vertex select. We're going to do Z for wireframe, B to box select, middle mouse deselect, and deselect these here. Then these vertices, we can just delete them, so just do delete and choose vertices. We just did that so we can bridge these across. So we're going to do that now. We're going to alt right click here, and we're going to deselect these at the top. We're going to go to the bottom and do the same. We're going to deselect the ones at the bottom. We're not going to need these vertices anymore, so we're going to do delete and choose vertices. Then we can do alt right click, alt and shift right click, and that should get everything here. The only thing we don't want is the bottom vertices, so we don't want these two. And we also don't want the same two at the top, so you don't want these. Then we're going to do Shift Q, that's going to do bridge edge loops. And then we're going to take these two and just press F. That will fill in that hole that we had. I'm going to do the same on the bottom. You can really select any two. It could be the top two or the side two and just press F. It's going to do the same thing either way. So that's it for that. Now we want our little circle part. That's going to be right here. So for that, we're just going to create a circle. We're going to go to create and choose circle. I'm going to change the vertex count to 8 and press enter. Then I'm going to do R, Y, and then 90 and press enter. And I'm going to change this from 3D cursor to median point. And I'm going to bring it over here. And then scale it down with S. I'm going to do Control 3 for side view so I can get a good view of this. And then I'm going to scale this down. And then use G to move it into position. I'm going to have these center points be a little bit left of this line right here, and just kind of position it similar to mine if you want, or you can position it according to whatever reference you're using. The only thing we want to be sure of is that this circle is to the right of the rest of this, and that's because we're going to be using knife project, and it has to be like this to do it. So we're going to do Control 3 to make sure that we're in left view. We're going to do P to separate this, so make sure that your scale and everything is correct. So if it's not the way you want it, you can scale it at this point until you're happy with it. Like I might scale mine down a little bit. Then you're going to do P to separate the selection and choose selection. So now it's a different object, but it's still actually selected. That's why it's in red. So we can go to Tools and go down and just do Knife Project now. Because this is still selected, it's going to do the knife project just like that. The only thing with this is you'll notice it didn't really do any cuts down here like this like we want. In order to do that, we can use cut through, but if we do it now, I believe it's going to possibly cut through over here as well. I'm not sure if that's true or not. So what we're going to do instead is we're just going to do Control Z to get rid of that. And we're going to hide the rest of this before we do that. So we're just going to do Z for wireframe, select one of these vertices, B to box select, and get an area similar to this. And then do Shift H to hide everything else. Then we're going to do Control 3 to go to side view again, and we're going to try knife projecting again. And then do cut through. So this time we should have all those extra edges that we were missing before. So now we have those edges going down like this. So that's the cut through option. It can be useful depending on the situation. In this case, it helps us out. So now we're going to do I to do a small inset, and then we're going to do E to extrude, right click to cancel, and we're going to bring this out. We're also going to do S, X, and then 0 to flatten it out on the X axis and press enter. We're going to do delete and choose faces because some of these faces are messed up. It might be hard to tell, but we're just going to delete these. There are some strange faces here, like if you select some of these faces, this one actually is made up of these quads. And then there's some other weird face right here. So we're actually going to have to do some changes and just delete some of these faces. Another thing we're going to do is try to merge some of these over, so we're going to merge some of these vertices over in a minute. But first I'm just going to delete some of these faces. I'm just going to do delete and choose faces. And then we can take, for example, these 4 and press F and fill in that area there. Looks like we have some problems over here too. So we're just going to select, oh actually it's just a hole. So we're going to go to vertex select and select these and then do F to fill in that hole. That's why it looked all weird. And we're just going to do the same thing all the way around. We're just going to kind of merge things together and delete faces we don't need. So we have all these extra vertices, we're just going to get rid of them and sometimes there's two vertices in the same spot. The only vertices you don't want to get rid of are the ones that were on these points, so you can see clearly how this is a straight line. You want to keep this vertex, and you can get rid of anything in between that. So we're going to take this and these three and then this one and press F, and then we actually probably have a few vertices over here that we need to get rid of. So I'm going to take this one and shift select this one, do Alt M at last, and I'm going to just make sure that there's only one vertex here. It looks like we only have one vertex, so that's good. And then I'm going to take these four and I'm going to press F to fill those in. We can even probably take these two and merge them over, so select these two, Alt M at last, and then do the same over here. Merge those together. And I'm going to just merge these over here, so just Alt M at last, and you want to just check to make sure there's only one vertex there. So go to wireframe, B to box select, and then you can see how many vertices you have. And we're just going to continue merging things over. We're not going to merge these bottom ones over. We actually could though, I think, in this case. So if we wanted to, we can just merge this one down. And I don't think that's going to cause any problems in this case. This one you're going to want to leave here because it's on the straight edge, or actually that one we probably... No, I guess we didn't need that one because that one was a flat surface. So because this one actually gets angled here, like it actually goes and that's where it starts to bend, you want to keep that point because that's where it starts to bend. So we wouldn't want to merge that one together for that reason. Up here we can merge these over, so I'm going to do Alt M at last and then do the same over here. We may have some extra faces here, I'm not sure, so I'm just going to try deleting them. And it looks like we were all set, so I'm just going to do Control Z because there weren't any faces hiding behind that, or any extra faces at least. I'm going to take these two and merge them together, just do Alt M at last and do the same thing here. And then take these and merge them together. One other thing I noticed on mine is that this face is actually not taking into account this vertex. So if we go to face select and select this face, it's only made up of these vertices, these outer ones. It's not including this vertex. So we actually want to delete and choose faces to get rid of that. And then go to vertex select and we're going to recreate this. So we're going to select these four here and press F, and then we'll select these three and press F. Then we can select these two vertices and just press F a few times to make this all quads. Switch to face select and get these faces, do I to inset and do a small inset. Then we can do E to extrude, right click to cancel and bring this back. That's going to be fine. We can do Alt right click on this and make this a bit longer if we want to, because it does stick out a little bit, so that's probably a bit more accurate there. Then we're going to do Alt H to unhide everything and A to deselect. If we want to at this point, we can go to object mode, select this object, and you can either do H to hide it or you can just move it to a different layer. For now I think I'm probably just going to do H to hide this. So this is our new details. We have this and this. So we're going to save it by going to File and Save. Thank you to our awesome Patreon supporters. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter yourself, head on over to patreon.com/StephenBrooks. Thank you for your support.